Hello once again, fellow cockpit builders. I'm just gonna say this time, I think I'm gonna break another record today as far as recording multiple videos in one day. But after I posted my previous video where I was basically explaining why I had not recorded any videos about SimVim Cockpit in a while, um, I kept on reading on the website and kept on messing around with the new version of SimVim Cockpit that I was trying to stay away from a very long time. So anyways, I learned a couple of things and I already got even a few more questions on the YouTube comments. So I decided to get right to it and try to explain the new way of doing uh, custom data refs and commands. So we're gonna be here in our Airfoil Labs Cessna 172, and there's only a couple of custom data refs or commands that I'm gonna use for this aircraft, but I'm gonna go through explaining how to do those. And the good thing about it is that once you know how to do one, you can do any of them. It's just a matter of knowing what the steps are. And I learned a couple more things regarding the naming of the configuration file that I was having a couple of doubts about on the previous video. So once again, I'm gonna get rid of the video here on my mug on the video, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rest of the stuff without me on there. Alright, so once again, we're going to open up the status page for SimVim Cockpit just so we can see that we are connected and how many inputs and outputs it shows that it has. And we're going to also put, we're gonna do the data ref tool, which is very interesting too. I've been wanting to mention that in some other videos, and I think I did on one of them. But did you see how much my frame rate dropped when I opened up the data ref tool? See, right now I'm getting about 32, and as soon as I close it, it went up to about 50, 54, 56. So yeah, it's somewhere in the 50s. So anyways, I lost about 20 frames just by opening the data ref tool. So if you guys ever do anything with that and you wonder why your frame rates are so low, that might be the reason why. So we also need the input option page here in order for us to be able to know which buttons we're dealing with. Alright, so before we go any further, I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm going to be working with here. So I'm working with this little particular panel that I had built, and I built it specifically for the Challenger 300, which I almost ended up never flying. So all these buttons were made specifically for that aircraft, but since I almost don't fly it, the reason I want to use these buttons is because I already have them, and why not take advantage of them? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repurpose them, and I'm going to assign, for this one right here, I'm going to assign the functions for the clock on the Cessna 172, this one, and this one. And then for these two, I'm going to assign the functions for the clock on the ADF instrument so that I can have, quick access to two different clocks if I wanted to, for IFR navigation or whatever. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And the first thing we need to do is go to the SimVim configurator. So once we go to the website, we're going to open up the we'll start off with time, the time and the function displays here. So this is the one that's in the Cessna 172, so we're going to be assigning some of the functions for that. And I'm going to open up my configuration file once again, that it already has all my assignments on there. So we need to figure out which buttons we're going to be using. So if you remember from the last video, I had already messed around with this button here, which is 1210, 1211, 1212, 1213, and 1214. And as you can see, they already have assignments right now, but we're going to get rid of those and we're going to put the ones related to this. And that's another thing I was figuring out, that when you assign the buttons, it's better if you assign them the same functions that perform it in the different airplane, even if the one that you're working with has custom data refs or custom commands. That way at least they make sense when you're trying to change them up. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go back to our web page here, So on the web page here, we're going to go to 12, and as you can see, they already have all the old assignments here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of these from 10. I'm going to delete 10, go back and delete 11, and delete 12. Too bad you can't delete all of them at the same time, I mean. And there was one more, and delete 13, and finally delete 14. Alright, so now that they're deleted, we can start assigning the ones that we plan to use. So we're going to basically put that top one there is going to be 12. I'm sorry, 10. And that's assigned. This one here, the chrono mode, is going to be on the next one down, which is 11. And this one right here is going to be on 12. Alright, so we're done with those three. We have those three assigned already. And now we're going to go look for the ADF. So the ADF device that this particular airplane has is this one right here. Is the Bendix King KR87. So I want these two buttons to be assigned to my other ones. So I'm just going to basically put that one in number 13, and then this one we're going to put in number 14. And that makes all of them. So I don't have anything on pin number 15 on this particular multiplexer right now. So okay, now we can go ahead and save the configuration file, and we're going to save it under the same name inside my Explain 11 resources plugins SimVim folder, and we're basically just going to replace the one that is there now. So now when we go back to the simulator and we reload the configuration here, now when we press the buttons starting with number 10, you can see here that it already has the correct parameters that we just put in there. So it doesn't say EMD or EFD, whatever it said before, button 10 or button 11, button 12. Now it has the chrono mode, the chrono control, and then the ADF function and the ADF timer. So that's good, but if you look at my clock here in the airplane, when I'm pushing those buttons, they're not doing anything. Or if we go over here to the ADF right here, you can see that it's also not doing anything. It's supposed to be doing, changing this one and starting and stopping the timer when you press this one, which by the way is not even doing it even with a mouse. Oh yeah, I have the simulator paused, that's why it doesn't work. I did that last time too. So as you can see, it's supposed to be doing that, and then it's supposed to start the timer and pause it and reset it, but it's not doing that. Let me make sure this other one's not working either. So I'm pressing the buttons now. Nope, it's not doing anything, so they don't work. So these need custom assignments. Okay, so what we have to do now is go back to the website, and we're basically going to do the custom commands. So we need to go to custom, and then we go to the community section here, and we go to the personal converter. Alright, so we're going to start a new conversion, and we have to upload our data config file in order to start creating a new one. So alright, so we load the data config file, and then it opens it up, and now it's a little bit different than it was last time because I have changed some things earlier today as I was playing around with it. So now it says that we have 116 replaceable parameters that can be added. 33 in my config file are not convertible, I guess because they already work as intended. So we have to find the ones that we just changed. So let's see if we can find those. So okay, here's the chrono, the outside temperature, the chrono control, and we need two more. Okay, So apparently it's not letting me change the ADF timer and the ADF function that are on the instrument panel here in the airplane, because it thinks that they already work as intended. Okay, but if we go back to the simulator again, um, I'm gonna press just some other random button right now, you see. So when I press the button, so this one right here, you know, it's supposed to do this, and I'm pressing that button, which as you can see it does say ADF function. And if I look at the commands, you see how they're different. So according to SimVim Cockpit, it thinks that because I have this instrument, these buttons should already work as intended. But I'm pressing them here, the ADF timer 1 and then the function button, and it's not doing anything. Because of that, it doesn't even let me select it over here. So let me make sure I'm not just missing them, but nope. I guess if you really wanted to see, you can look at these 33 that are not selectable, and we can find, yeah, there's ADF function and ADF timer. So it's not going to allow me to change them at all. So for something like this, we need to basically trick it, I guess you can say. Okay, so we can go back to the configurator and we can go to 12.13 and 12.14, and you see they are the right ones, but they obviously don't work. So in order to allow SimVim to allow us to change them, we have to select something that is not being used on this airplane. And that's why before I was using those temporary placeholders. So maybe we can use like the ones I was using before, which I'm not even sure where I got them. Okay, so I couldn't find those two buttons anymore in the configuration file, so I went back in and actually I edited the configuration file manually, and I put MFD engine and MFD systems back in here, so that way when we go back to the simulator we can actually press, you know, those buttons and they will actually show up right here as something different. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the configuration editor, and we are going to continue doing our conversion. So basically we have to start over again because you know, those buttons weren't showing up. Alright, so once we load our data configuration file, it's telling us that now that we have 31 parameters that are not convertible. So if we click on that, we can probably see that ADF, the two ADF ones that we wanted to convert are no longer there. So we should be able to find them over here. So once again, we're going to choose the chrono mode, the OAT, and the chrono control. And now we're also going to add MFD engine and MFD systems. And like I said before, you'll find these in the same order that they are in the configuration file. So if we look at the configuration file right here, and we go down into the 12.11, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, you see that they're in the same order that they show up right here. So that can simplify, you know, how you can find them. But that's one of the problems that I've had with not being able to change any of the parameters, because sometimes they don't work as intended and you can't do nothing about it. It doesn't let you change them. So what you have to end up doing is putting other names that don't make any sense for what you're trying to use them for, and that's just going to make it more difficult later when you're trying to troubleshoot and everything. So anyways, now that we have those 5 selected, we can confirm, and we're going to make a name for it. So we're going to call it Cessna 172 underscore AFL for Airfoil Labs, and we can click OK. And so now we can go ahead and start putting the actual parameters in there. Alright, so we're doing all this jumping back and forth here. So we're gonna look once again at our data reference tool here, and if we press the first button that we want to switch is this one right here. So that is 172/panel/clock_top_button. So we can go ahead and put that into the first one. So we click on that one, and this is what I was doing wrong last time. So you have to basically erase the word default here, and you're gonna put that string that was showing up in the data ref tool. So it was clock top button, and then you confirm changes. And once you have added a command, they actually have a plus sign here instead of an X. When they have a yellow X, that means that nothing has been assigned to them. So the next one we're going to do is the chrono mode right here. Okay, so coming back over here, this is going to be this button right here on the clock. So when we press it, we'll see that that one is called 172/panel/clock _select_button. So we'll type that over here. I was actually wondering if it would just let me copy it from here and paste it over there, but it doesn't. So I guess we have to go back over here and just type it in the way we've been doing. So it was clock select button, and then we have to make sure that we spell it correctly, because like I said before, as soon as you type it in and you press the save, it would tell you that the command wasn't valid on that aircraft, or it didn't exist. But now we have no way of knowing until we actually download the file and try to use it. So we just have to make sure that we spell it correctly. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing for the Chrono Control, which if we go back to the simulator again, I'm going to erase the other two just so it could be easier to see it. So when we press control, it's the same thing, except it's 172/panel/clock _control button. So we're going to go ahead and type that over here. Alright, so 172/panel/clock _control button. Confirm changes. Okay, so the one for the MFD engine, that's the one that we want to use for this button here, and then the one that's MFD systems we want to use for this button here. So once again, we'll clear the data ref tool, and when we click on this one, we see that that is 172/ADF/ADF_flight. And just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and click on the other one, and that one is 172/ADF/ADF set. So we'll go ahead and put those in the configurator. So first, the engine one is 172/ADF/ADF_FLT. Okay, that looks good. And then the last one is 172/ADF/ADF_set, and confirm the changes. Alright, so now all 5 of them have commands associated with them, and you can just go through them and check each one to make sure they're correct. And they seem to be correct, but I guess we really won't find out until we try them. And if you needed to, for some reason, get rid of any one of these because you accidentally clicked it or whatever, all you need to do is click on it, and then you can delete it right here. Alright, so we got our configuration file here. So now the only thing we're going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and delete the one that I had already saved, just so that we know we're starting fresh. And the other 2 that I had before, I renamed them so that they wouldn't even get loaded. So alright, so we got that out of the way. So we'll download it and save it, and we're gonna put it, remember this one has to go into the aircraft directory. So we're gonna go to where I have the Airfoil Labs Cessna 172, and we're gonna save it in here, and that's it. Okay, now we can come back to the simulator, but let me reload the configuration here. Alright, they're still all good. But now if we go back to our airplane here, hopefully now when we press the button, it'll do what it's supposed to do. So there's the clock, and yes it is. It's changing the temperature from voltage to the Fahrenheit temperature to the Celsius temperature. Now when I change the next button, that would be changing from universal time to local time to flight time and to elapsed time. So it works. Now the elapsed time, let me see if we can reset it with a button. So we're gonna basically press stop and then reset and then start the counter again. So they do work. So yeah, that worked as expected. Now if you look real closely, when I push the buttons, you could actually see the little button get pushed on the simulator. You see that? So that's pretty cool. Alright, so now let's go check on the ADF over here to see if these two buttons are working. So right now it's on elapsed time. So my mouse is over here. I'm not touching nothing with the mouse. Now this is going to be to change it to flight time, back to elapsed time, and it's working. And now I'm gonna pause it, and I'm gonna reset it, and I'm gonna start the counter again. So yeah, everything's working as expected now. So as you can see, it's a lot more trouble and a lot more work than when you have to basically just go into the simulator here on this window and be able to add it on there and immediately see if it's working. Now you have to go through the process on the website, have to download the file every time, save it and download it, and then hope that it works, or else you have to go through the whole process over again. Alright, so one of the things that I find interesting that is that if you actually go and look at the DAT file, like I said, it looks just like a garbled, junky mess. So you can't make heads or tails of this. You don't, if you have a problem, you cannot tell where the problem is by looking at this. So you have no other option than to, let's say I'm gonna refresh this website here, and now let's say I want to continue editing this DAT file that I just created for the Airfoil Lab Cessna 172. So I can load the conversion, and I have to go, remember, to the aircraft folder. I'm not going to load the data configuration file. I'm going to load the DAT file. So I go to my aircraft folder and I select the one that is here, which is SimVim underscore C172 underscore FAL.dat. And that is the name that I gave it when it told me to save it. So I basically open this file and it opens up exactly where we left off. And then if we had to, we can go in and make any changes to it. But as of now, this is how it works. Alright, so I guess we kind of figured out how that works. And it's the same thing if you want to do the same thing for data refs. It's the same process, but of course you have to have the information, the values that go in the data refs, and that will have to be another video, probably just about as long as this one. So for now, that's it for this one, and hopefully it helped you guys like it helped me understand this new way of doing the custom commands. Alright, see you on the next one.